Hello and welcome. I hope you're safe and well. In today's exciting episode, we take a look at my navy jackets. A lot of them are tweed. This is the last of the collections videos. I do have a lot of jackets. It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Perfect jacket. Goodness, I can't quite believe this is the last of the collections videos. I've actually made more jackets since then, and there's a few that didn't make it into the collections videos, but it's the vast majority of my jackets. Oh, this is the first navy Chanel tweed that I ever bought, and I absolutely love it. Made it into a vintage style jacket, but here I'm showing you the Italian silk that I used for the lining, which is absolutely gorgeous. You think the lining won't matter, but a lot of the time when I go to reach for a jacket, I end up getting one with the softest, most expensive silk lining. So it is worth it, even though other people don't see the lining. It just feels so nice. So yeah, this is, as I said, it's a Chanel tweed, and it's a summer weight tweed. So the base is cotton, not wool, and it's got a couple of other things in there as well. And there's a little bit of grey, a little bit of beige, but it's mainly navy, other blues and white in there. And then I didn't have very many beads in my bead collection at this point, so I've sort of mixed sort of royalish blues in there with sort of steel blue, navy blue, all different blues in there. So for a long time I did think I would take the beaded trim off and replace it, but I don't know, I'm kind of used to it the way that it is. This jacket has got to be either 13, 14, 15 years old. It's very, very old. And I love it to bits. It's just so comfortable and so... It's sort of the old reliable, if you know what I mean. It's a wardrobe favourite because it's suitable for every single occasion. I love it. And it's definitely one of... People ask which one I wear the most. It's probably that navy Chanel one, just because it's suitable for everything. And here I bought, I don't know how much of this silk that I bought. It was just so beautiful. Like, there's always gorgeous silks, but sometimes you fall in love with something and you just like, oh, and depending on how much disposable income I have, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to buy enough of this to make 5 jackets or whatever. And yes, so this tweed, I think it looks like a stained glass window. That's why I bought it. And I bought it in the navy colorway. I think they had it in yellow as well, which was a bit much. But the blue one looks like skies through a window, like through stained glass or, old ornate windows. And it doesn't have any beaded trim. It has this vintage, it's like a trim, but it's sort of... I don't know, it's like macrame, but it's, instead of being made out of raffia, it's made out of plastic raffia. It's from the 1960s. This really, really old fabric store was going out of business or something, and I just saw it and it was just so weird. And there was enough to make one jacket. So I've used it around the collar and the cuffs, And yeah, so this is one of my rare jackets that doesn't actually have beading on it. It's got vintage trim instead, and I just hand stitched it on. I like that jacket. When I've worn the original navy Chanel jacket too much, then I usually wear the stained glass one. And this one is my second navy Chanel. This one has beige and bits of brown in it. And when it comes to navy Chanel, I like it to be just navy, a little bit of white, maybe a little bit of something else. This, I bought it because it was there and they didn't have any other one. But yeah, it's not my favorite. Of the 4, I have 4 navy Chanels. This one is the least favorite. I think maybe if I redid the beaded trim, I don't like the big seashell. It's slices of the inside of a seashell, those grey ones, and I don't like it. They're beautiful up close and personal. Like if you look at each bead, they're absolutely gorgeous, but in a beaded trim, I just don't think they work. So yeah, I think if I took the beaded trim off and made it again, also the silk lining is just standard silk. It's not really expensive Italian silk. Whereas I think with most of the Chanel jackets, I usually use an Italian silk, which is extremely expensive. So it's so really, really buttery soft. And with this one, I used one, it's black, but I don't know, maybe there was dyeing problem, or maybe I just bought it from a dodgy place, but it doesn't feel as luxurious as normal silk. So maybe if I just take the lining out and replace it with something. This is another Italian silk. Isn't it amazing? It's so that Jean-Paul Gaultier did I think the 2017 collection or something. Anyway, years ago, he did this collection. It was like forest nymphs and sea nymphs, and it was amazing. Like some of them were dressed like wood, some of them were dressed all in green. It was amazing. And anyway, when I saw that Italian silk, it reminded me of that. So I bought a couple of those. And this is an Italian tweed, and it's all wool. It's rare that there's lots of tweeds that are just wool, but I normally buy the ones that are a mix, so their base is wool, but then they add other fancy things in there, whereas this is an old school tweed and it's just wool. So it's more like a coating wool, so a big, sturdy, bulky coat. So it's difficult to use tweeds that are this bulky on a small cropped jacket, especially when they're such a small size. But, I went with it. And then after I finished it, I loved it so much because it had this gorgeous lining and I loved the tweed that I rushed the beaded trim, and I hate the beaded trim. So I keep threatening to take the beaded trim off and replace it so that I'll wear the jacket more, because gorgeous lining, gorgeous tweed, hate the beaded trim. So this one, for years I thought if I changed the beaded trim on this one, then I would like it more. But I don't know, now I'm swinging back around and I kind of like the green again. My problem is like, I like neon. I love this tweed. It's a Linton tweed, and it's gorgeous. It's cream navy in a houndstooth, and then it's got flecks of all different neon colors in it as well. It sounds like it should be hideous, but I absolutely love it. And then with the beaded trim, I used bright colors and neon colors are not the same thing. But I didn't have any neon at the time, so I just used bright green because green is my favorite color. And yeah, sometimes I get it out and I'm like, ugh, you're horrible. And then I just put it back again. But then sometimes I get it out and I'm like, gosh, this is aggressively cheerful. I love it. So I don't know. I keep thinking that maybe I'll take the beaded trim off. And then now that my bead collection is extensive, to say the least, I've got a lot of neon coloured beads, because when you've got loads of tweeds and you're buying them to put them on tweeds, then you end up with a lot of things that match tweeds you already have. So I've got loads of neon beads now, so I could make a really amazing beaded trim for that, or I could do embellishment for it. So I don't know, we'll see. I've got so many unfinished jackets, I should just focus on them first. Speaking of, this is yet another Linton tweed. I've only ever seen them make this particular tweed once. They have made the same weave, so the same pattern, but in a different colorway. So it was white, red, a pale pink and beige. So it looked completely different, but the weave was the same. and I really love it, but it's so dense and it's so complex and subtle at the same time. Like, it's quite small. You have to get up close to see all the detail. So I don't know how to bead it. I might, I think this is me saying that I was thinking about doing something similar to this, like having beads dripping off, because I've got these gold ones, because there's gold in the actual tweed. So maybe I could do that and just do gold, like collar and cuff beading, with gold seed beads and gold tiny sequins. So maybe I'll do that. I don't know. It's such a pretty tweed though. And then this is a Chanel tweed. It might not look navy, but it's actually navy and white plus lots of neon ribbon in there, in little cut bits of ribbon, which are called flags. And then for the beaded trim, I use those, those cocktail animals that you get for when you have a party, so everyone knows whose drink is who. And to stitch them on, they don't have any holes, so you either have to drill holes in them, and I didn't have a drill at the time that I made this, or you have to use invisible thread. So I used invisible thread, which is an absolute nightmare to use because you can't actually see your thread because it's see-through. It's very frustrating to work with, and sorry about my voice. It comes and goes. And yeah, so it took a long time to do the beaded trim, but I love the way that it turned out, and I love that jacket. And then next up, we have the pink. This is the first jacket where I did all over embellishment. So instead of making a beaded trim and then stitching that on, I beaded the beads straight onto the tweed. And I was so nervous about this, but it turned out beautifully. It's probably not beautiful to most people, but it's exactly the way I wanted it to turn out. So it's these strips of fabric, and also there's bits of plastic raffia in there. Plastic raffia is a thing in really expensive tweeds. It's a thing. Other people, like, occasionally I start talking about plastic raffia and the people are like, what? It's a thing with expensive tweeds. And yeah, so the actual tweed is strips of fabric woven together, and it's mainly pink, but it's got ink blobs all over it, or blotches of this navy ink color, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And then I beaded it all over with beads that match the ink navy, the navy ink blots. And then I have a couple of tweeds that I bought that are mainly tulle, and this is a couple of different tulles, and it's got, so very, very, very lightweight. And it's also got some mini sequins stitched in there as well. I haven't finished this. I used it to make a jacket pattern, and then as I was making it, I was like, oh no, I know what the problem is with this pattern. So I haven't finished that jacket, and I'm not sure how I'm going to bead it. This is my snow dump Chanel. It's supposed to look like, on Instagram, how they have all those reels of people standing out on there. They go to a log cabin and they stand there, and then someone else dumps the snow down on them. Well, it's supposed to look like a snow dump. Oh, and it was a Chanel tweed, and I just absolutely love this tweed. It's so classic or boring, whichever you prefer. And I just love it. And then I did this weird beading because I just happened to find the bag of white beads while I was looking through to see what I should use. And I was like, oh my gosh, this would be amazing. And I just was a little bit experimental, in an experimental mood when I made this jacket, obviously, because it's got these braid bits that I don't know why I put them in there, and I just felt like doing it. And then I also have the fringe at the bottom, so it's got a lot going on in this jacket, but I don't know, I still like it anyway. And the snow dump beading, I just think it's fabulous. It took forever to do, but I just love it. It makes me happy. And then next, I can't remember. I think we're going in vaguely chronological order here. Oh yeah, this is another one of the tweeds made out of tulle. This one is super bulky. The other one with the mini sequin woven into it was not actually that bulky. Really difficult to work with because it just, as soon as you cut it, it sort of undid and it went into pieces. This one sort of stayed together when you cut the pattern pieces out, but it's really bulky, and I didn't like this pattern either. It was me trying a new pattern. Can't remember, I think it's Simplicity or McCall's, and the jacket is white. I can't remember the number. It's in my review of jackets, the first one. And I haven't beaded it yet. I think I'll do chandelier beading on it. I think that would look really good because I haven't beaded it because it was too short. But if I do chandelier beading on it, it's sort of, because the beads are so much longer than the actual jacket, it sort of feels like you're wearing something more substantial and longer. So I think I'll do that for that one. And this is one of my favourite navy Chanels. This is actually the fourth navy Chanel. The last one that I ever bought. Well, the last navy Chanel. I think I bought a couple of other Chanels after this. But yeah, during the pandemic, so many European designer fabric stores went out of business because, I mean, you sort of, when you cut costs, you cut the luxuries. So, but I still have loads of tweeds to make up, so we should focus on that instead of pining for more that I don't have. Anyway, so this one I did bugle beads on it, and it had this really, really bright yellow in there. It's also got a golden yellow as well. But yeah, I beaded a couple of ways before I stumbled on this bugle beads, and I beaded over the brightest of the yellows. So now it's a lot more subtle, and I love it. I just love it. The bugle beads have this oil slick finish. It's sort of all different colors, and it's amazing. So I really love the way that went. It took ages, but totally worth it. I love the way it ended up. And then this one here is the first time I made Berta 6123. If you're looking for a simple Chanel style jacket, I cannot recommend Berta 6123 enough. It's such a good pattern. It's very simple. I sort of make a couple of tweaks to it because it's unlined. So basically I do this one here is reversible, and I was just using up my scraps. So one side is navy and sort of really, really bright colors, and it's supposed to look like Las Vegas at night. And then the other side is a forest. So it's all greens and florals and things like that. So yeah, I got to use up lots of scraps, and I tried out the Berta 6123 pattern, which is pretty amazing. So for the longest time, I just had two Chanel style jacket patterns that I used. And this one is a much more simple, it's not as fitted, but if you have real trouble setting sleeves or putting in sleeves, then this is a dolman sleeve one. Dolman sleeve just means that the sleeve and the actual jacket are cut out as one. They're not separate sleeves that you sew in. Need a big table, or you have to cut out the pieces on the floor because the jacket pieces are quite big. But once you've cut them out, all you have to do is sew the upper seam, like the seam along the shoulder, and sew the underseam. The underseam goes under the arm, down the side of the jacket. And once you've done that, and then you sew in the lining, which is basically the same, you're done. So it's really easy to make. And this is a wool that is navy and orange. It's very bright. But I had so much fun beading this. And the great thing about this jacket pattern is you can half make it, then do all the beading, then sew up the undersleeves. And yeah, so you can lay it flat and do all the beading on it. So yeah, it's really, really good for that. And because I bead almost every single one of my jackets, yeah, it's really convenient for me, as well as the end product, like the jacket, I think is a really nice jacket. So at first I beaded it with about half this amount of beads, and then it looked like it was on the edge of each of the big squares and it just looked wrong. So then I did twice as much beading and it looks way better. And then next we have, oh goodness, this is only half done. So when I made this, I love this tweed, but when I made this, for some reason, I used 2 layers of netting as the structural layer. So that's why the sleeves stick out ridiculously, because I guess I thought I was going to use bigger beads, but then I ended up using sequins on it. And sequins are just tiny little light bits of foil or like metal or plastic. They're not very heavy at all compared to beads, big beads. And yeah, so I've made it and it's totally covered and I love it. Coverage wise, I think it looks fabulous. But because I used 2 like extra strong structural layer, it needs twice as much work on there. So I still have a lot of sequins, so I'm fine to do more on there, but I just have to unpick the lining, do the the same again of beading, and then yeah, it's a lot. So I like it, but it still needs more work. This is a sample jacket. It was of a Berta pattern, and it's a nice pattern, but you sort of I have tiny shoulders, and this one you need regular or robust shoulders for this jacket pattern to look good. So I like the jacket pattern, but I probably won't wear this. I mean, I don't wear the cotton jackets half as much as the unstructured cotton jackets. It's just a mock-up. It's nice, but I'm not going to make any of my tweeds up in this. But it's a good pattern, but not for me, not for my particular body type. So I do like it, but I love the fabric and I kind of wish I'd used it on something else. Like it would have been beautiful for a bolero. If I'd made it in a bolero, then I would have beaded it beautifully. And I think this is the most recent of the navy ones. It's not really navy, it's pink. And I don't know, when I first made it, I absolutely loved it because it was using up so many of the periwinkle beads. And I made it in these 2 colours because it reminded me of that navy and pink tweed jacket. And I loved making that one. So I was like, oh, I want to do something like that again. So I made this one and I don't like it. I think I won't unpick it yet. I'll just leave it the way it is for now. But I'll put it away for a few more months because I just don't like it anymore. So which happens sometimes. And then this one, I thought this one I made in last year. So I made this, I didn't want to save the pink one till last because I don't really like the pink one. This one is my pirate treasure jacket. I absolutely love this. It's one of the Italian tweeds and it's the denim coloured Italian tweed, and it's got all these different flecks of colours in there, but the main colour is a denim, sort of a darker blue. So I've got this in a lighter blue, this denim blue. I have it in purple with green splodges in it. I have the green one, which I've put red beads on. And I think there might be another one. Anyway, it's the most amazing tweed, and I bought it in all the colorways I could afford. They had a few more, but yeah, those were the ones that I could afford at the time. And yeah, I just love this. I used up so many beads on it, and it had these white bits in there that I really didn't like, so I beaded over them, and I love the way it turned out. I absolutely love this jacket. It is so pretty. Oh, the other colorway that I forgot is black, orange, red. It's the one that I call the volcano one. It's beautiful too. So they're all it's like the ingredients are the same and they're woven in the same pattern, but they're different colorways. So it's just really interesting to see how they differ between each iteration. And this is just a little reminder of what we've seen. My original navy Chanel, which I love that jacket. Every time I see it, I'm like, oh, I have to wear that one again. But it's the most worn one probably out of all of them. And then, yeah, there's a few that I think I would wear more if I took off the beaded trim and did new beaded trim. This one in particular, because the lining in this one is just amazing, and the wool tweed is gorgeous too. So this one, I'm going through a phase where I like the green beaded trim on this one now. So we'll have to wait for me to bead that one. This one, I think, yeah, maybe either, I don't know, maybe chandelier beading on it or something. Ooh, that navy and purple kimono style jacket with the short sleeves, big wide short sleeves with all the sequins over it. Instead of doing twice as many sequins on there, I could just do chandelier beading on the sleeves and down the front and around the neckline. And that would weigh it down enough that it would, yeah, this one's going to have chandelier beading on it too. I might just get out all the beads that I can do the chandelier beading with, then match them up with jackets, get a few of these jackets done instead of, at the moment I'm working on another intricate watermelon one, and it's just taking so long. It's awesome, but maybe I should do ones that take less time. Yes, this one's jumping the queue. It'd be quite nice to have that one finished. Anyway, that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've been inspired to start a jacket collection of your own. They are slow to start, but yes, as you can see, 15 years later, you end up with quite the collection. Anyway, thanks again for watching and happy sewing.